Good morning, there we are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. Sorry for that blurb or blip or whatever it was called, where it took us off the air again. Yes, guys, this has happened for the second day in a row. Hopefully it will not continue. It looks like we have a pretty good internet connection. I don't know how that happened. Okay? It just happens, I guess, occasionally. That's the second time in our history of 4.5 years that we've been taken off the air. But here we are again. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, folks. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome you to our show tonight. Folks, we have a good show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. I'm going to forego the Pledge of Allegiance again and the National Anthem. We're starting late. I've been trying to get on the air since 4 o'clock this afternoon. That was the first time we tried, honestly, to get on the air, and we've had problems since. But it looks like the problems have been solved again. We have a really good internet connection. 2,700 kilobytes per second. That's pretty darn good. Hopefully that will last. I want to start off this evening talking about some earthquakes. That's where I want to go with this. I want to then talk about what has happened today around the world, and then come back and talk to everything about what has been going on literally everywhere else. So folks, let's go over to the USGS map here. Okay, let me take that down. Okay, I want to talk about the big earthquakes. Okay, this one over in northern Peru. This was a large 5.1 earthquake. 5.0 to 5.9 are considered to be large earthquakes. Let's zoom in here. I want you to see this. This is on the eastern foothills of the Andes Mountains in northern Peru. This is 8 miles west-northwest of San Pablo, Peru. San Pablo, Peru. This, folks, like I said, it's in the foothills. Okay? You see hills on the east side and the Andes Mountains to the west. This is kind of a valley here in the foothills of the Andes Mountains. Okay? I want to zoom in as far as we can here. I want you to see what we're seeing. This is farmland for the most part. Farmland for the most part. There is snow in some of these upper level mountains here. Okay? That's how high this land is. Again, this is a 5.1 magnitude earthquake on the eastern side of the Andes Mountains here in northern Peru. You notice we have three other, well, I can't say minor. Okay? 3 other earthquakes here in South America. This is a moderate 4.5, 54 miles deep. This 5.1 is not much more than that. This is 71 miles deep. This one is down in the asthenosphere. Okay? This one is a 4.4 near Calama, Chile. Okay? This one is 88 miles deep. Okay? That kind of corresponds with the one in northern Peru. This one is a 4.3. This is at the border region of Chile and Argentina. San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina. This is 113 miles deep. Okay? 113 miles deep. This is still a fairly shallow quake. We've seen earthquakes at 300, 400, and even 500 miles deep. This is still considered a fairly shallow earthquake. Okay? Then we go over to the South Pacific. I want to start over here. This is in the southern part of the Fiji Islands. This is a 4.6. This is 100 miles deep. Okay? Then we go up into Tonga, Hihifo, Tonga. This is a large 5.0 earthquake, 91 miles east of Hihifo, Tonga. Now I'm going to zoom into this quake. I want to show you exactly where this earthquake hit. Okay? It was on that great big huge fault line, the Tonga Trench. Okay? This is again 6.2 miles deep. Now, do I believe that? No. Okay? There's too many earthquakes that USGS has been telling us about that are far deeper than we have ever thought about. Lately, the past 2 weeks, they've been showing up these earthquakes to be very shallow earthquakes. I don't believe it at all. None of these earthquakes ever in this region have been this shallow. That's why I question it. Okay? As for this being east of Hihifo, Tonga, let's look here. There are no islands anywhere near here except over here. This is far further, I should say further west of that earthquake. Okay? Look at this. Okay? This is not that same place, Hihifo. Okay? This is not Hihifo, Tonga. Hihifo, Tonga, guys, is over here. Hihifo, Tonga is over here. What I'm saying is USGS cannot put us where we want to be. Okay? This might be closer to 200 miles or further west of Hihifo, Tonga. They're saying it's east. It's not, it's west. It's southwest, not east. Okay? Again, we can't trust the agency. We go further west over here. This is near Loganville, Vanuatu. Loganville, Vanuatu, 23 miles northeast of Loganville, Vanuatu. This is a large 5.1 earthquake, 80 kilometers deep. We go further west into the Solomon Islands. This is a moderate 4.7, 6.2 miles deep. No, folks, I don't buy that either. Okay? We go over here into Papua New Guinea. Now we're getting into some very large earthquakes. This is a 5.4. This is basically the same area where we've had some 5.6s and 5.7s and even a 6.0 here just a couple of weeks ago. Notice where this earthquake is. It's on that fault line. It's on the same fault line, folks, where we've had other earthquakes just east of there. The Solomon Islands in Vanuatu. Okay? On the very same fault line. So what we're seeing here are earthquakes progressively going west from the islands east of there. Okay? We've talked about earthquakes, large and very strong sixes that were over here in Tonga and Fiji area. We've talked about moderate earthquakes that are going to spawn larger, shallower quakes. This is 39, 40 miles deep. Okay? A 5.4 earthquake over here in Papua New Guinea. Eastern Papua New Guinea region. Okay? Let's zoom in here. Okay? I want to show you what's going on here. There is a village of people over here. There's a village there. Okay? There's a village of people living over here as well. Okay? Even though I don't believe there's anybody living anywhere near that earthquake. I might be wrong here. It does not appear to have any people living in this region. Okay, but this is offshore, north offshore from Papua New Guinea here. It does not appear that it's more than 8 or 10 miles offshore of Papua New Guinea. Now, with that said, possibly a good share of the seismic energy was absorbed by seawater in this area, but it's still quite close to Papua New Guinea here. So anybody living anywhere near here probably felt some moderate shaking at least. Some moderate shaking at least. This is again on that same fault line here, coming out of the islands here to the east. Okay, I want to show you that. That's important to understand. Then we come over here. Okay, this is Maui, Indonesia. Okay, look what we're seeing here. The Banda Sea again. The Banda Sea. These are aftershocks of yesterday's strong earthquake here. Major earthquake. This is a 5.1 in this region. This is a 4.7. This is considered again 6.2 miles deep. Could it be? Possibly, but I don't think so. Earthquake right next to it, a 4.6, also 6.2 miles, 10 kilometers deep. This is a 4.3, the same depth. We go over here. This is a 4.5, same depth. We go further south here in the Banda Sea. This is a 4.4 here. This all is different though. This is 104 miles deep here. This one is down in the asthenosphere, down in the area where the plastic magma is. Okay? Again, this is in the same region where we had that major earthquake here yesterday and 3 other 6.3 earthquakes in this area. Or 6.7s, excuse me. 3 other 6.7 earthquakes in the same region. These are all aftershocks. Okay? Aftershocks in this region. They're not showing any other earthquakes here in this region, which is a bunch of crap. Okay? There's probably 30 earthquakes here in Indonesia today. There's earthquakes in the Philippines that they're not showing. I don't know how they can get away with this. We know there's subduction going on. We know there's plenty of subduction going on. But they're not saying one word. Subduction causes earthquakes. Subduction causes volcanoes. Never let it be said that we talk about volcanoes and we don't think about subduction. Subduction causes earthquakes and it causes volcanoes. Remember that. If there's nothing else that you get from this program, remember that one fact. Where you see subduction, you're going to see volcanoes. Where you see volcanoes, it is a result of subduction. Okay? That's always been the fact. Always been the fact. Now, I wanted to show you this. I want to show you this. This is why I tell you that they don't know what they're talking about. Look at this. There's 10 plus earthquakes in the Banda Sea today. 10 plus earthquakes in the Banda Sea. It's closer to 18. 18 in the Banda Sea. What are they showing? Not much. Okay? They're actually showing 6 earthquakes here. 6 earthquakes. How can they do that? How can they lie to the public like that? Okay? 10 plus earthquakes related to the major earthquake that hit here yesterday. Okay? Now, with that said, I want to show you what happened yesterday, since we were knocked off the air yesterday evening. I was not able to show you what actually happened. Now we're going to do that tonight. I want to make sure everybody understands what happened yesterday. It's important to understand to see what happened. Okay? Oh, shoot. I don't know why that did that. Okay. This is a slide of the Valdese yesterday. The large supposed 7.1 earthquake here at the bottom left-hand side of the slide. That was the largest earthquake of the day. Now, see that highlighted earthquake there? That was a 6.7. Up almost directly north is another 6.7. And just south of there is another 6.7, and they mislabeled it. They mislabeled the size of that earthquake. There are 3 6.7s here. Now, with that said, let me show you something else. We talked about this yesterday about noon when we did our first broadcast. This shows tremendous activity there in the Valdese. Folks, this is not just a 7.1. This was an 8.0 magnitude earthquake. This was an 8.0 magnitude earthquake. I took one of the helioplots from distant locations just to show you what happened here. Okay? I can show you a closer up location if you want. For example, Narrogin, Australia. This is very close to that earthquake. Probably about 1,000 miles away. That's how strong it was. I showed you Hockley, Texas a second ago. Let me show you what it looked like in Yellowstone yesterday afternoon. Okay? This is that same earthquake shown from Yellowstone National Park in the United States. Look how dark that left side area is. Okay? That is tremendous energy being expelled by this earthquake. It was not a 7.1, it was an 8.0 earthquake. Let me show you something else. I showed you Australia a minute ago. This is Kaori, New Zealand. Okay? Showing you basically the same kind of information that I showed you that came out of Australia. Okay? Let me show you something else. I want to show you from Kivo, Finland, on the other side of the world. This is what it showed up on the helioplot in Kivo, Finland. I'm going to take you now over Norway. Okay? A lot of times we don't understand earthquakes sufficiently unless we see them from several different locations. Okay? Let's go over to Spitsbergen in Norway. Okay? This is that same earthquake. That's still pretty strong signals from half a world away in the northernmost hemisphere. Okay? Norway. Now, I want to show you something else. I want to show you an updated view from Hockley, Texas yesterday afternoon. Okay? We still see that same amount of pressure that was exerted when that earthquake hit. I counted these horizontal lines from the main line of that earthquake yesterday. I counted them down from the top to the bottom. 14 plus hours of body waves. 14 plus hours of body waves. There was nearly 2 hours of secondary waves. There's no way in heck that this was a 7.1 earthquake. This was at least an 8.0 magnitude earthquake down there in the Valdese. This earthquake was felt in Australia. We've had earthquakes in the same area about 2 years ago, felt over in northern Australia. People left their office buildings in northern Australia because the earth was shaking. At first they weren't sure where the earthquake was. They left their homes and office buildings because the earth was shaking in Australia, shaking all over the region. Okay? This was a big earthquake. This was a huge earthquake. Now I'm going to show you one more updated helioplot. This one is from Narrogin, Australia yesterday afternoon. It's not as dark as it was earlier because time has passed. But again, look what we're showing you. The top line is the Valdese earthquake, the 8.0. Again, we counted all the lines from the top seismic line of the earthquake all the way down to the bottom line here. 14 plus hours of shaking. Over 14 plus hours of shaking from this one quake. The one line where you see shaking, that was a 5.3 earthquake in Texas. Isn't it interesting that the 5.3 earthquake in Texas is shown all the way over here in Australia? It was everywhere. It was everywhere. Now, folks, that's a lot of shaking, isn't it? That's a ton of shaking. Now, let's talk about the 5.3 earthquake in Texas. Okay? This blue dot is that earthquake in Texas yesterday afternoon. Now there have been over 150 aftershocks from the same 5.3 earthquake. Now, as you can see from this slide, every one of these earthquakes here, aftershocks included, are a result of fracking operations, oil and gas fracking operations. Now, one of the things that you probably don't understand, all of you, is that the real danger comes from those ponds that you see here that are kind of dark colored here. Those square ponds. Those square ponds, P-O-N-D-S, those ponds are full of treated sewage. Treated sewage that we inject down into the wells here to obtain gas and oil out of these wells here in Texas. It is being said today that these water injections are what caused these earthquakes in Texas yesterday. Okay? The injection of these fluids causing the earthquakes, which may have been, but not every one of those. These aftershocks have to do with all of the other wells as well. Seismic energy hitting those man-made drill points. Man-made drill points. Now over 153 aftershocks as of today. That's big time. Now, I want to show you something else that has to do with everything that we just showed you. Yesterday morning, at 11 a.m. yesterday morning, this shows 493 felt reports to the USGS. There were over 500 reports to the EMSC, the European Earthquake Agency, Seismic Energy, or Agency. 500 earthquakes reported to the European Seismic Agency. Okay? That's big time. Now, those felt reports were over a wide area, as you can see. The blue area is what we're talking about. This blue circle here. This is all of the felt reports that came in, all over this region. That's huge. That's huge. 500 miles in diameter. 500 miles in diameter. Okay? It's amazing how that earthquake affected Texas, New Mexico, and southern Colorado as well. Felt reports all the way up into Segundo, Colorado. It's incredible. Now, I want to take you up to Coalinga, California. We had a small swarm of earthquakes up here in Coalinga, California yesterday. Okay? Let's count them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 separate earthquakes. The largest one was a 3.1. The largest earthquake here in Coalinga, or this is actually northeast of Coalinga. The reason I put this slide up here, in fact, let me enlarge it for you so you can truly see what I'm talking about. That town there is Coalinga, California. So these earthquakes are northeast of Coalinga. It has these earthquakes over here in fields, in farmland here. Okay? Coalinga has had many earthquake sequences here. 5.2, 5.7 here in the past years, since about I believe it was 1984 or something like that. Incredible force here. Now, things are not progressing like I thought they might. Since we had these earthquakes here, it's not as bad here. It's not as bad. But I think we're still seeing some seismic activity here, but USGS is not reporting it. I fully expect a larger earthquake to hit here in Coalinga. Now I have something else that is not even related to these earthquakes from Coalinga, and this picture came from yesterday. Okay? I wanted to show you this. Okay? This is a electric vehicle charging station. Okay? An electric charging station, guys. They charge Tesla vehicles and other electric vehicles here. 98 charging bays. This facility is in Coalinga. It's the largest charging station in the world. But the uniqueness of this location, they are all powered by diesel fuel. The charging stations are powered by diesel fuel. It still takes fossil fuels to power electric charging stations, because the charging facility in the local area cannot support the charging of electric vehicles. Now, Coalinga is a small town. It's a relatively small town, maybe 30,000 people. They have a 98-bay charging facility in a populated town of 30,000, maybe 35,000 people. Isn't that interesting that they put this kind of effort into a small town where the largest cities don't have it? The largest cities don't have it. And it's powered by diesel fuel. Okay? The Democrat communists here in this country want to turn the United States into green energy without internal combustion engines. Diesel engines are still internal combustion engines. They operate differently from other gasoline-powered combustion engines. It's interesting to note that these Democrat communist politicians want to turn us into electric vehicles, electric-powered cars, and diesel trucks. It's interesting to note we don't have enough charging stations for the cars, let alone the diesel trucks that they want to produce. The diesel trucks would almost have to carry a full trailer full of of plutonium batteries to power the engine of the 18-wheeler truck, the tractor that would pull the truck. The trailer would have to be full of batteries to power the truck. It's not efficient. Okay? The electrical platinum batteries, guys, cannot power what torque that the 18-wheeler trucks need to operate. Yet the politicians want to turn us into an electric-powered nation. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Linda Covington is asking a question, what about the old batteries? They don't want us to have those either, because they're not environmentally friendly. Well, neither are these. These batteries get overheated and they cause fires that fire departments can't even put out. They also, when they burst into flames, put out toxic chemicals. They're not environmentally friendly at all. And right now, we have to get the batteries from China, because we cannot even produce the batteries here in North America. We don't have the metals, we don't have the technology necessary to produce mass quantities of batteries here in the United States. Okay? It's interesting how we would have to depend on the other communist country in order to depend on these vehicles. It's not practically possible. I don't believe it will ever happen. Even though that dirt bag over in California, Mr. Newscum, Gavin Newscum, okay? His name is Newsom, I call him Scum. Gavin Newscum wants to do it. He has banned all gasoline-powered or new gasoline-powered cars by 1930 or 2035. Keep wanting to say 1935, 2035. He doesn't want California to have any new internal combustion engine-powered cars by 2035. It's not practically possible. It's not going to happen. And by the way, I just saw an article today that says Gavin Newsom, his popularity has dove into the tank. He is the least popular governor that California has ever had. And yet that same man wants to run for President of the United States. Go figure. Okay? Go figure. Now, with that fire in Texas, with that earthquake in Texas, you guys yesterday were talking about a fire also in Texas. Someone asked me on the program yesterday at noon when I did my first program about whether that fire was related to the earthquake. No, it wasn't. This fire was in Shepherd, Texas, in the eastern Texas area, east of Houston. Let me let you watch this report.
The fire is out, but the impact far from over. We're glad you're with us this afternoon. I'm Adam Winkler.
And I'm Elisa Rivas. It is the big breaking story of the day. Massive fire happening at a chemical plant in Shepherd in San Jacinto County.
Right now, we're showing you the side-by-side images of when the fire first broke out. A massive plume of thick black smoke. It stretched for miles, and of course, the plant being on fire. Just within the last 30 minutes, all shelters in place have been lifted around and near Sound Resource Solutions. Our Chaz Miller has been out there since early this morning. Chaz, what is happening right now?
Adam, right now, it's kind of the way things have been here this afternoon. Slowly but surely, we're getting a little bit of information and a little bit of good news. We got out here today, and it looked like that video you just showed. We're going to show you right now what that looks like at this moment. You can no longer see that plume of smoke. So obviously, that's the good news. There's going to be a press conference in this area at 4 o'clock today. We're going to, of course, bring that to you live on ABC 13. The one big thing we were wondering about was that shelter-in-place order. Not only was it here in San Jacinto County, but also on the other side in Polk County. Both of those have been lifted. That's the good news. I don't know if you guys still have our shot up right now, but I want to show you what you're looking at right now is 59. It is shut down in both directions. A man out here, a law enforcement agency, just said you could let your dog loose down here right now, and he could run up and free down 59 with no problems whatsoever. And that gives you an idea of the fact that, yes, this is still closed. That's one of the updates we're hoping to get in this briefing from DPS. They were at the last one at 4 o'clock to see when they're going to open this up. But if you travel out this way, they say it's closed for about a 15-mile radius. If you're coming in from Houston, it's shut down at 494, and that shutdown ends all the way at 190. So again, they say that's about a 15-mile radius, traffic in both directions shut down, and at this point, DPS has not told us when they plan on reopening that. Now that those shelter-in-places have lifted, hopefully they'll tell us around 4 o'clock. As for the plant itself that caught fire, we've been told that things burning in there include things like diesel, turpentine. They make all kinds of products in there, their owner said, and this is what he said about what they do.
Our basic business is industrial chemical manufacturing. We deal with a lot of flammable materials. We're not going to release a whole lot of stuff because everything's in the middle of an investigation.
So the important things to note right now: 1, that shelter in place has been lifted in Polk County and San Jacinto County. 2, the roadway 59 still closed in both directions for a 15-mile stretch around that blast site. 3, there will be a press conference at 4 o'clock. Officials will give an update, and when that happens, we'll bring it to you live.
Okay. I'm going to stop that report. The rest of the report is talking about the schools that were evacuated and for a while sheltered in place inside the schools. Because of that great big huge plume of smoke that you saw, covering 2 different counties, 2 different huge counties, the shelter in place in the schools had to happen. The shelter in place in homes throughout that area had to happen. The shelter in place told people to keep their doors and windows closed. With that said, even with the doors and windows closed, chemical particulates from that fire got into people's homes. It had to have. People were told not to use their air conditioning. Now, yesterday was a very hot day in Texas. As you can see from Mr. Miller, the reporter, he was in shirt sleeves there in Texas where that fire happened. Now, let me tell you about what happened here. Okay? There was an explosion at a plant, an industrial plant that had chemicals used in manufacturing of different plastics and such. What does it sound like? What does this sound like, guys? They manufacture plastics and they had all those kinds of chemicals there. Petrochemicals. Okay? There was an explosion. This had nothing to do with that earthquake, which was on the southwestern side of Texas. Multiple fire agencies used foam to contain the large plant fire along 1127, the highway interchange there in Shepherd, Texas. It left 1 worker injured yesterday morning. In the evening update yesterday evening that I couldn't give you, officials said crews were still working and putting out hot spots from the fire, and they remained on site throughout the night to monitor any fire that could pop up, which it did. The fire was completely out by sunup today. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality said it would work with contractors on remediation and cleanup of the fire site. At about 8:17 a.m. today, authorities said they received, yesterday, 8:17 a.m. yesterday, authorities said they received a report of a possible explosion at Sound Resource Solutions. Sound Resource Solutions. That was the name of the business. It makes glue, paint, removal solvents, and other things, including plastics. A 1,000-gallon propane tank was in the middle of the fire, and a 4-inch natural gas main was under the ground. According to the preliminary information that we found out about, a worker on a forklift saw a container of chemicals leaking. He reportedly attempted to lift the container. He noticed there was a fire and then a huge ignition. That forklift driver, and I don't have any information to prove this, but I will bet you that forklift driver was the employee that was injured in that fire. Okay? That's a big deal. That's a big deal. We're going to probably hear about this for weeks in the future. Okay? Some of it might be covered up. How many other fires like this have we reported on? 2 of them in New Orleans. 2 of them along the Gulf Coast of Texas. We've reported on fires over in Florida. We've reported on fires out in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of New Orleans. Fires on gasoline pumping stations in the Gulf of Mexico. Okay? We'll see where we go with this. Okay? It's incredible. Mary McHenry says, I heard this morning on Full Spectrum Survival that they believe this could have been some sort of attack. I don't believe that. Okay? Now, Full Spectrum Survival makes statements like that. I don't believe that that man who puts out that channel has our best interest at heart. Okay, he speculated on that. It had nothing to do with an attack. It was a leaking chemical container, and that forklift driver tried to remove it to a safer area when it exploded. Okay? That's what actually happened. Okay? Him calling it an attack, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I've seen some of his reports. He does talk about some things that are good. I shouldn't say good. He does say some truth, but he speculates too much. If you're any kind of reporter that's putting out information, you have to get your stories right. He doesn't do that. His speculation is getting himself into trouble. Okay? It wasn't an attack. He wants to get people into his channel to make it look like something bigger is happening. I'm telling you right now, this was a chemical plant. It had nothing to do with an attack on the United States. Absolutely nothing. If it did, the results of this fire and explosion would have been all over the place, not just in that area. Okay? I want to make sure that we put information out that's accurate. Okay? Full Spectrum Survival I had listed on my sites to keep an eye on. I've taken it down as of yesterday because he doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't like to put other creators down. But we have enough problems here in the United States and all over the world. We cannot speculate on anything. We have to get our stories straight. We can't be lying, speculating, or putting out any kind of false information. It's bad enough that things are happening. But to put out false information, leading people to believe that there has been a full-fledged attack on the United States, it's not possible. It's not happened yet. I can't say it's not possible. It is very possible. But it has not happened as yet. Linda Covington says, who is this guy? I don't remember his name. But I'm not going to give him any airtime either. Okay? Speculation gets us into trouble. Okay? You'll never hear speculation on this channel. If I give you my opinion, I tell you what my opinion is. I put it out as opinion. But I don't speculate calling it a possible attack on the United States. It's not possible. That did not happen as an attack. Okay? No way. Now, I want to talk about a couple other things here. There was a fire here in North Carolina, up in the mountains. A very large fire in the mountains. Okay? A big deal. It's burned thousands of acres here in North Carolina. There have been other fires that we've talked about on this channel. I wanted to give you an update on this fire. This fire was on Powder Horn Mountain in Watauga County, North Carolina. While we're talking about that, let me show you where Watauga County is. It's marked in that red spot up in southwestern North Carolina. Okay? Now, over here in southwestern North Carolina, I want to tell you a little bit about it. This fire is not out yet. This fire is not out. However, firefighters have gained some containment. This fire is now at 225 acres, 10% contained. Firefighters have done an amazing job keeping all the structures safe. This is in a very mountainous region of North Carolina. Watauga County is a county located here in North Carolina. As of the 2020 census, the population of the county was over 54,000 people. This is the county seat and largest community here in Watauga County is the town of Boone. The county is an exceptionally mountainous region, like I said. Now, it's crazy to think that this fire first got reported 24 hours ago with only 225 acres burned. The firefighters have done a tremendous job keeping it contained to that. Now, it's even more interesting that starting tonight, we're going to get some rain. It's not going to be heavy rain, but we're going to get some rain here in the Blue Ridge Mountains, in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, even near me. We could get a quarter or more of an inch of rain here. Okay? That will also help the firefighters put out that fire in that beautiful mountain area of Watauga County. Okay? I want to show you something else. Over in Watauga County, there's a smaller town called Blowing Rock. This is what they call Blowing Rock. This is a natural rock formation there in Boone County, near Boone, North Carolina. This is cool. This is really cool. Okay? Blowing Rock is one of the most renowned cities in Watauga County. It is known for the blowing rock that you see here. This is the only place in the world where snow falls upside down. Snow falls from bottom to top here at the Blowing Rock. The Blowing Rock, just to give you some history here, in this state, Blowing Rock is billed as the oldest tourist attraction in North Carolina. The oldest tourist attraction in North Carolina. There's also a tourist railroad in this area. It has the oldest diesel-powered locomotive that was built in 1937. And that locomotive takes tourist cars all over this area for a 2-hour tour. Okay? It's actually a pretty good place. Okay? I just want to share that with you. Okay? I think it's important. Now, after that, yes, I was going to show you some seismograms from New Madrid and the East Coast. I'm not going to do that tonight. I tried doing that last night and we had problems. I don't want to talk about it tonight. Other than there are earthquakes hitting on the New Madrid Fault. Okay? Earthquakes hitting on the New Madrid Fault. 3.0, 3.5, and as much as a 4.0 moderate earthquake on the New Madrid Fault. USGS is not reporting that. Also here on the East Coast, we've had earthquakes in West Virginia and Virginia. Folks, it's big. It's big. Okay? It's big. We're seeing 2.5 to 3.0 earthquakes in Virginia. We're seeing 2.5, 3.0, and 3.5 earthquakes here in North Carolina. We're seeing 2.5 to 2.8 earthquakes in South Carolina. Okay? Now, with that said, I talked with Highway Runner earlier this afternoon. There are people now that are talking about a major earthquake here on the East Coast. A major earthquake that will hit here on the East Coast. Now, while I have some data, I do have some data that would point to a larger earthquake occurring here on the East Coast. I believe if it does, it will probably hit in Virginia again. It will probably hit in Virginia. Now, for a date and time, I'm not going to even speculate. The reason I say it was probably going to hit Virginia is the last earthquake that we had here on the East Coast was in Virginia, a 7.2 earthquake. A 7.2 earthquake about 10 years ago. Hit in Virginia. It damaged national buildings, federal structures on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. It closed down rail trains from Virginia all the way up into Maine. That earthquake was felt up and down the East Coast. I think it's going to happen again. I truly believe it's going to happen again. I'm going to keep everybody informed as to what is going on. I believe it's one, my duty to do it, but two, it's an obligation because everybody deserves to know what's happening so you can make preparations to prepare yourselves and your families to be able to try to survive it. Now, as I told Highway Runner when I had her on the phone earlier, I don't want to see people hurt. I know it's going to happen. But if we make proper preparations, we stand a better chance of surviving it. Again, I want to say it. If we make proper preparations, we're going to be able to survive it a lot better than if we just sat here and did nothing. Okay? That's my philosophy, and I haven't been wrong yet. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking again about emergency preparedness. I'm going to try to keep making Friday Emergency Preparation Day. Emergency Preparedness Fridays. Okay? I think it's necessary, or I wouldn't even be here. Okay? Now, I want to talk about something else that has to do with these fires, has to do with everything that's happening to us around the world. Okay? Look at this. This was on a sign of a business, and I'm not going to even say the name of the business because I don't want them to get flocked by a bunch of crap going on. or somebody crazy hounding them. But I put this picture here so you know what's going on. Before we work on artificial intelligence, why don't we do something about natural stupidity? Okay? I believe that. We're working on artificial intelligence to run our companies, run businesses, to run programs on computers, to run our lives. We need to slow down on the artificial intelligence and do something about natural stupidity. People are too stupid to even tie their own shoes. And they know how to tie their shoes. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about people that don't use the brains that God gave them. Okay? Let's try to do something about natural stupidity. Now, before I leave here, one of my cousin's grandfathers had a birthday, 103 years old, and he wanted it said that he wanted his picture on that Facebook thing so people would find him and see him. So folks, I'm not just giving him Facebook as my cousin did. Grandpa Casey, 103 years old. Now, what do I have to say about Grandpa Casey? I think it's fairly simple. Okay? Grandpa Casey has lived a wonderful life. I wanted to give him some highlights here so that people would understand him. Understand him at least a little more. Grandpa Casey still drives. Grandpa Casey still works in his garden. Grandpa Casey feeds himself and even helps feed some of his neighbors. He plays with kids out in his yard. He likes to talk to people. He likes to make sure that people are taken care of. What a great thing to say. What a great thing to say. 103 years old, and he wanted to be seen on Facebook. Now, Grandpa Casey, you're being seen around the world. I told my cousin that I would be putting him on my program tonight. Yes, I wanted to give him some attention that he deserves. He's had a good life, as most people do that get to this age. Happy birthday, Grandpa Casey. It's her great-grandpa, my cousin great-grandpa. What a great thing. Iola May, your great-grandpa Casey is featured around the world now. He drives, he tills and plants his garden, he bakes cakes, he makes homemade ice cream all the time. He called my cousin over, asking her for a favor from all of her friends on Facebook to share his picture and show him just how far he can go on that Facebook thing. Grandpa Casey, you're now known around the world. Happy birthday, great-grandpa Casey, and thank you for your service. Thank you for your love and compassion to your family. And thank you for helping us realize the greatness of America and the greatness of our families. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Anybody that lives to that age, folks, I have nothing but compassion for and love for everybody. It's a beautiful thing. Now, I want to, with this, with giving great-grandpa Casey some well-deserved publicity, not just on Facebook, but around the world, I want to go over to Colossians in the New Testament. Okay? I believe this also has to do with Grandpa Casey. Okay? In chapter 3 of Colossians, and you guys might think this is a little bit funny. In verse 23 of chapter 3, it says, "And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not unto men. Do it heartily, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance. For ye serve the Lord Christ." Okay? Great-grandpa Casey is a good example of serving the Lord Jesus Christ. He honors his family, he honors his neighbors and his friends. Happy birthday, Great-grandpa Casey. Happy birthday. We appreciate you. Brothers and sisters, let's always remember that scripture, to do everything we do heartily. Don't just delve in with our feet, okay? Not necessarily with our toes. Let's don't tiptoe into anything. Let's do it heartily, mightily. If we get involved with anything, jump in and do it. And have fun. Enjoy your lives. Bake cakes. Make ice cream all the time. I may even get me an ice cream maker now, so that I too could be said of making ice cream all the time. That would be great. Anyway, guys, do you have any questions about anything we talked about tonight? I know I've covered quite a bit. I've been all over the place with this. Okay? But I wanted to make sure that we talked about these earthquakes. I don't believe this is going to be the end of the earthquakes in Indonesia. It's going to continue. Earthquakes in the United States are going to continue. As I told Highway Runner earlier, yes, we're going to have a major earthquake on the East Coast. We're also going to have at least one or two on the West Coast as well as the great Cascadia megathrust earthquake. It's going to happen. Folks, we will be keeping an eye on Mount St. Helens. I believe we probably will have an eruption at St. Helens and Mount Rainier. I talked about that as well. Linda Covington is asking about solar flares. Folks, we are still experiencing solar flares. We have plasma radiation that's still continuing to enter the Earth's atmosphere and into the Earth. The plasma radiation has not stopped. The solar flares that we've had within the past 24 hours, they have been on the, if you look at the sun from Earth, on the northeast side of the Earth. I mean, northeast side of the sun, meaning at the terminator. In other words, our orbit around the sun is pulling us to the west part of the sun. Okay? That big, huge region of the solar sunspots is now moved off behind us. We're entering more sunspot activity. It's going to continue to happen. As we told you earlier, Mark Wages and other people that monitored the sun Earth Watchmen, for example, have all said that we're entering a cycle of increased solar activity. Last year, we entered the beginning of the solar maximum. In December into January this year, we entered the solar maximum period. It was just the beginning. The number of solar flares that we're having now is just a small taste of what we're going to continue to have. Okay? That's going to happen. It's going to continue. It's going to cause more and more earthquakes as well. I would tell you guys, you need to batten down the hatches. You need to prepare yourself to see major earthquakes around the globe. Major earthquakes around the globe. And I'm talking Europe as well. The earthquake that hit in the Turkey-Syria border region, that is what I feel is just, unfortunately, the beginning of what we're going to see in Europe. What we're going to see here in the United States and Canada. What we're going to see in China, Japan, South Korea. What we're going to see in Australia. We've seen large and very strong sixes down in southwestern Australia. We've seen fives over in southeastern Australia as well. It's going to continue. We need to prepare. We need to be prepared for whatever happens. Now, with that said, there has been a lot of speculation about Iran attacking the United States. Iran, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, and the Hamas and Hezbollah factors from Turkey have attacked our troops in Turkey and Syria. They've even sent missiles and drones to try to attack our ships. Fortunately, our ships have been able to intercept those missiles and drones and take them down. Whether those drones have been inbound to Israel, whether those drones have been inbound to anywhere, we've taken them down. We're going to continue to do that. If Iran truly doesn't get its act together and stop its attacks, and I'm talking not just from Iranian soil, Iran is funding the Turkey and Syrian Islamic forces. They are funding the forces in Gaza as well. They need to stop. If they don't stop, there will be an attack from the United States and Britain and all of our allies as well. Iran can't afford that, because if that happens, we will take Iran out to lunch, and they won't be much of a country after we get through with them. With that said, there's also a lot of speculation that Barack and other politicians have been involved in what's happened. We already know during the Barack Obama administration, he sent $400 million on a pallet on a plane in the middle of the night to Iran. Okay? That's called treason. Funding an enemy country. Funding an enemy country. Okay? Now, I've already given you guys a spiritual thought. What I'm talking about, I don't even like to think about. But I'm telling you what I know is going to or could happen. We all need to be prepared for this. If it happens, it's not going to be pretty at all. It won't be. A lot of people could be killed. I don't even like to think about that. And that's something my father would say. Now I'm acting like my father. I don't even want to think about that happening. But it is a possibility. There are known terrorists here in the United States and Britain and all over the world. We've seen the protests this past weekend. I don't believe they're over. I think protesters are going to take to the streets again tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday, all across the United States and all over the world. We have terrorist planned protests in Raleigh and Charlotte, North Carolina this weekend. Okay? You need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. Linda Covington says head on a swivel, and that's the absolute truth. Okay? Lamb is the light. She just lives northwest or southwest of me. She says emergency prep. I need to talk about that. Absolutely. Everyone needs to be talking about emergency preparedness. That's why we're going to talk about it tomorrow night. Okay? We're also going to talk about anything else that's been going on politically around the world, excuse me, seismically and everything. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, but we're specifically going to talk about preparedness. Okay? I'm going to end with this thought. My buddy Don Patoka is one of our mods. Don Patoka and I have been friends for a very long time, many, many years. He says your immediate well-being is incumbent upon you and in your hands. Nobody can or will be coming to spare you. Only you and you alone and your family are going to be held accountable for your well-being. That's the way it is. I'd go back a few more years to my years around Walter Cronkite, when I was a boy and growing up, and even back in 1996 when I first met him. And that's the way it is. Thursday, November 9th, 2023. One more thing. Before I came on the air tonight, I noticed YouTube had unsubscribed a bunch more people. Please check your subscriptions, folks. Make sure you're still subscribed to this channel. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you subscribe to this channel. When you subscribe, make sure you also click on that little bell icon. There's a tiny bell icon. Click on that. There will be a drop-down menu of 3 items. Click on the word ALL. That should get you notified when we come on the air. But make sure you get resubscribed to this channel. If you're having problems with buffering and things, unsubscribe and then immediately resubscribe. Don't wait, because you might forget to do it. Resubscribe to this channel. Okay? I hate talking about that, but unfortunately YouTube keeps suppressing this channel. They keep shadow banning us. Okay? They do. Folks, please know that I love and care about each and every one of you. That's why I do this channel. I care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't expend this much energy. I put in 8 hours a day, most days, pulling information for all of you for this program. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be doing that. I do care. May God be with you. May God bless you. That you have the fortitude to stand up. Lamb is Light saying, I have an example of how I was glad that I prepared. I thought I was going to have to stay at the hospital the other night. I didn't, but I had a bag packed in my car with all of what I needed. That's great. Folks, as I said before, thanks for being here. May God bless you with the things that you stand in need of. May God be with you until we meet again. If we have anything else that happens tonight, we will be back on the air just like we were yesterday afternoon, as soon as the information becomes available. Otherwise, we'll see you sometime after 6 p.m. tomorrow evening with another episode of Emergency Management Associates. I love you. I care about you. Have a good night, everybody. We will see you on the other side. Good night. Bye. You're kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. That's not good. That's not good. Wow. Have a good night, guys. I guess we're not going to have a video to close. Take care, everybody. Much love. See you soon. God bless.